Hello and welcome to SpyHards Podcast. I'm Agent Scott.
And I'm Cam the Provocateur, lighting his calendar on fire.
Is that because you have such high hopes for 2026, or you're just trying to dispose of the evidence of 2025?
The latter. Now, the mistake was I didn't take the calendar off the wall first, so I also need to move in 2026.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. You see, you can't move for the rest of this recording, and you've set the fire. So it really has like a Hitchcockian ticking clock thing. Will Cam get burnt to death before we can finish this episode?
I'm just going to quietly disrobe over the course of this as the heat becomes unbearable.
Well, I'm glad that we're an audio podcast.
This is not the year to launch the video.
No, no, not as you slowly get cooked to death. Looking like the mum in Terminator 2 as she gets blown up by the nuke.
I'm going to look like that guy in Batman 89 that the Joker gives the joy buzzer to.
Of course. Or you might look like one of the burglars in Home Alone 2, although that's more electricity, I suppose.
That was electricity, yes.
Yeah, you're right. Yours was better.
Yes, thank you. It was a hot time in the old town tonight.
Well, we're back with, or maybe we're starting, depending on where you're first tuning into SpyHards, with our festive tradition. I suppose we're not in the festive season anymore, but annual tradition of recapping the last calendar year.
Which was a lot because, as with most years, we had a really busy year.
We really did. I'm so tired.
My knees, Scott, they hurt. They ache.
My back. That might just be us needing to see physiotherapists.
Well, my girlfriend did get me a massage for Christmas, so I have that booked for January 8th.
The image of you getting a massage, I mean, as one thing, will haunt me forever.
As I disrobe.
Yeah. I've seen the gremlin can position as you scurry across rooms in the dark, so I can only imagine what you're like with just a towel on and your underwear in front of a masseuse.
We'll find out.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
We'll live stream it.
Yeah, that's when we launch the video version of the podcast.
Exactly.
We start off spy hard. By the end, we're spy smooth?
Sure.
Spy loose.
Spy loose. That's better.
Everybody spy loose. Well, if this is the first time you're tuning in, goodbye.
Yeah, we apologize.
I don't apologize. If you've not got an idea of what we're like by the year 2026 after almost 6 years of doing this, I think you're the ones that are gluttons for punishment at this point.
Yes, that is very accurate, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, how has the year been for you, Cam?
I think we had a really bang up year. I feel pretty good about we had a lot of interesting interviews. We covered a lot of the movies. Doing the Roger Moore films was a joy to me. That was something that I've been looking forward to since we started the podcast, but just given the journey we went through with the Bond movies, doing the Connerys and the Brosnans up front, and then the Craigs and kind of the oddities, it took a while to get to Roger Moore, but boy, was it worth it.
Firstly, take that word oddities out your mouth when you're talking about Never Say Never Again.
The crappities.
Oh, I will wash that mouth out with soap. And I'll ram the tears of Allah down your throat.
I think there's an argument to be made that Casino Royale 67 is better than Never Say Never Again.
I mean, you could make the argument. You'd be wrong.
I don't know about that.
You cannot be serious.
It's more interesting. That's for sure.
Oh my God. Okay. Cam wants to annoy me today. That seems to be his goal. Let's see how he does throughout the episode. Now, if this is your first time tuning in for the wrap-up or the recap, whatever you want to call it, Cam, can you sort of walk us through what we're going to do here?
Yes, we're going to, first off, just kind of give some background on the year. We're going to go over the knock list and the disavowed list and just the content that we put out this year, the interviews, the things that we were really excited about, and we'd like to just kind of take a moment to look back on. And then we're going to dive into categories, and we have all sorts of fun categories to kind of sum up the year. Things like the craziest moment of the year, the SpyHards MVP, and much more. And then we'll kind of, wrap it up by teasing 2026.
Ooh, We love a tease. And if you are very keen of ear, you should stick around to the very end of the episode because Cam might leave a special present for you all.
That's right. I definitely will.
Oh, I haven't heard what I know what's going to be there. I haven't heard the exact moment. So that when I listen to the episode when it's live is the first time I get to hear what ends up at the end of the episode. So it's always exciting for me to find out how much of a fool you can make me look.
My favorite one, I think, to date still is the Great Santini
Right.
one from, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, me like being abusive towards you for not having seen the Great Santini, a movie that I hadn't seen either.
No, which I think has actually gone into like infamy in our WhatsApp group at this point now. The Santini has come up more than once.
I was actually at the thrift store. This was a while back. I think I told you off air, but maybe like 8 months ago or something.
Mhm.
And I was looking through the DVDs and Blu-rays, and there was a copy of the Great Santini. And I was so excited. I snapped it up. I was going to take it home and watch it. And I just was checking the disc, and the disc was scratched to all hell. So I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to buy this now. And I was actually a little bummed walking out of there, without a copy of the Great Santini in my hand.
I guess that's the cosmos saying that you shouldn't watch that film.
I mean, Robert Duvall demands it, but it's going to have to wait till another day. Maybe that's 2026. Maybe on the Patreon we can make the Great Santini work.
Doesn't he have a spy film he did in like 2000 about tango or something like that?
Assassination Tango,
Yeah.
which at one point we did have booked to cover in 2025, but got bumped for something else. We moved the calendar around, and so maybe we'll get to that next year. But yeah, Duvall's not really known, though, as like one of the great spy movie actors.
No, but if he's still around, I'll make a punt for getting him on.
Yeah, and there's another movie he was in that may come up later in a voicemail for one that someone would very much like to see covered on the SpyHards podcast. So, stay tuned.
Well, let's get on the road. Stats, information, statistics. People that like spy movies, I think the Venn diagram does have some crossover with people that are quite nerdy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We certainly are. So I think a lot of people listening love a statistic. And I've gone ahead and gotten the statistics of what we did in the last year. And we're going to have a little bit of a comparison. So the first thing we always talk about is the total amount of spy films we've tackled in a year. I'll tell you what we did last year, and you can have a guess to see what we did this year. Does that sound fair?
Sounds good.
Okay, 2024, we did 40 spy movies. What's your over-under for 2025?
We did less this year because we had more interviews and special episodes because of all the emergency broadcast episodes. So I'm going to say 38.
Okay, you're 4 off.
Okay.
34.
That's it?
Yeah, pretty light on the ground.
Well, I guess that makes sense, actually, because, 52 weeks in a year, the number of interviews and special broadcasts. I look at the Spy July feature we had going, where that took up most of the month. Yeah.
That was a big thing. And the GoldenEye 30th anniversary as well.
Yeah, no, I guess that does make sense.
Yeah, because the GoldenEye thing, we didn't actually have a review that whole month. We just had GoldenEye episodes.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, and then got a lot of good feedback about that. I think going forward, and we'll maybe talk about this in the teasers, is we might start looking at more anniversary episodes. But 34 is still a good number. Some podcasts are released every 2 weeks. We still give you at least one episode every week. So,
not including the Patreon, of course, where there's all sorts of other stuff.
That's the cheap plug of the episode, everyone. Well done, Cameron.
Thank you.
You can find a link in the show notes below. The knock list, though, the list of the need-to-see official classics. Some say it's the list of the greatest spy movies ever. Some say it's the list of the spy movies you need to see.
Some say it is an albatross around our necks.
I'd rather have an albatross than just be willy-nilly just reviewing things.
True.
An anchor. Or perhaps it grounds us, Cam.
Maybe.
Probably not. Last year, we put 4 films on the knock list. So 10% of our films made the knock list. What do you think about 2025?
I think it was the same, if not one or so more, because I think we actually had a conversation about this last year, that last year we focused on a lot of movies that were sort of not hidden gems, or oddities, but just movies that didn't have the high reputation or the really low reputation. It was a lot of stuff kind of down the middle.
Yeah.
And I think we were kind of like, oh, we should try to introduce a few more classics next year, which we did this year. So I'm going to say, yeah, probably like 5 sounds good to me.
Ding, 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 ding. Bang on the money. Well done, Cam.
Yeah, it's like I had the titles in my head with the exception of one, and I feel like there's one I'm forgetting, so.
Well, yeah, for those who aren't keeping track, and this is in order of the way we reviewed them this year, the 5 films that made the knock list are The Lives of Others, The Spy Who Loved Me, The In-Laws,
yeah.
Marathon Man, and Moonraker.
Yeah, I think a batch of movies that you can have differing opinions on them, but you can't say that they are all forgotten films. Like, these are movies that are very much championed, at least by someone.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. On the other side of that coin, when it comes to things that are championed, perhaps we're championing their demise. The Disavowed list. In 2024, we put 3 films on the Disavowed list. What do you think we did in 2025?
This year was less, 2, I think.
Again, Cam's been doing his homework, folks. He might have been cheating.
I have been cheating.
You've been cheating?
I mean, how did I not look this up in preparation for the episode?
You scumbag. What's the point in doing this whole thing if you're going to just look up the answers? And you were like, oh, I wonder how many. Let me have a think about it. This guy. I mean, I should have expected something about Cam being this way when we do spy movies all the time.
Also, it's not hard to keep track of 2.
But you duplicitous bastard. I did not expect that from you. Well, why don't you just tell me, Cam, what were those 2 films?
They were Section 31, the Star Trek streaming film, and Rocket Attack USA, the atomic bomb hysteria film from the 60s.
I expect one or more of those might come up again later in this episode.
Yeah.
But I just want to lay something out there. When we started doing this show, almost 6 years ago now, if you'd asked me, is there ever going to be a Star Trek spy movie? I would have said, no way. No way.
Well, there kind of was one.
Another one then. You're right. You corrected me there. Star Trek 60 Undiscovered Country. Another one that's perhaps full on like Mission Impossible riff, or even like a comedic spy movie, whatever you want to call whatever Section 31 was. But then to even get through that, to get to the point of where that happened, and it also happened to be one of the worst films I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I just would never have seen this coming.
It was shocking. Over on my Star Trek podcast, Subspace Transmissions, we did our year-end wrap-up, and we're just talking about like how unbelievably inept that movie was. Because it's like one thing to put out a Star Trek film, and maybe you don't like it that much. I don't love Into Darkness very much. I think it's pretty mediocre. But when I watch Into Darkness, I don't say, this is an amateur hour production. I mean, it's very clearly expensive. J.J. Abrams can make a sequence work. There are good things in it. With Section 31, it is like almost like a bad student film.
Did you see that the Hollywood Reporter named Star Trek as one of the biggest losers of 2025?
Interesting. I didn't see that.
Yeah, in their winners and losers poll, apparently they do every year. This is the full blurb. Cam might want to cut this, I don't know, but I'll read it to him because he's never heard this.
Okay.
The sci-fi franchise is approaching 60 years old and sure feels like it. Paramount Plus's Section 31 movie tanked, brackets, a 16% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Woof. End brackets. The 3rd season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds was meh.
Yeah.
The only person who sounds excited for the upcoming Gen Z targeted Starfleet Academy is recurring guest Paul Giamatti. Sure, a new Star Trek movie is in the works from the writers of Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, but come on, do you care?
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem is when you put out content, and like the thing about Section 31, bring it back to us, is like that was a movie that Paramount Plus put a lot of muscle behind promoting and trying to make into an event. And frankly, they should have just hidden it, just quietly released it during maybe the holiday, period with like no press. That would have been the smarter choice because it was such a horrifically bad movie. And we've covered many bad movies on SpyHards, but that one was like bottom of the barrel bad.
And like instead of that, they went full splashy, paid for me to go to a screening with like tons of drinks and food laid on. They sorted you out with an interview with some of the cast as well, where
Yeah.
you tried your hardest to make it sound like you cared about the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they went all out, and it was for naught.
I mean, spoilers for Section 31, but they had me like lined up with. I interviewed 2 people. One of the people dies in like the first 5 minutes of the movie, something like that, and it's like, why would you go to the work of setting up interviews with like an actor who's playing a character that has no screen time whatsoever? It was so strange.
Yeah, I don't get it. And then some of the other actors are out doing the press tour and saying Star Trek is dying. Good work, folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I'll let you go and catch up with Cam's Star Trek podcast for more on that, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again. But yeah, that was the stats of 2025, 34 films, 5 on the knock list, 2 disavowed. Not too bad.
No, not bad at all. And I think like looking at movies like Marathon Man, in particular, actually Marathon Man, I was really excited to do this year.
Yeah.
And sometimes, behind the scenes, we have like our master list of things to cover, and we get a little nervous about, well, let's not do that one yet because we got to hold on to heavy hitters for later down the road.
Mhm.
But I was really happy doing Marathon Man and Lives of Others this year because I think it wasn't just that they, produced episodes I'm really proud of, but also they were movies that just enriched my experience. I'd seen Marathon Man, but just going back and watching it again
Mhm.
was just like, oh man, this movie is so much greater than I remembered, and it will inform the way I look at things in the future on the podcast.
And on the other side of that coin, The Lives of Others was one that we'd had mentioned to us a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I'd never seen. And out of doing that, I ended up interviewing Martina Gedic, the co-star of the film. And I think that was a really fascinating interview. No, it didn't get a lot of like coverage or downloads particularly. It wasn't the most popular of episodes this year, but if you like The Lives of Others, go back and track down that interview. It is worth your time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, it didn't have the download numbers that the Section 31 press tour coverage got, but what can you say?
Well, what can you say? Ironically, 31 was the number of downloads.
Flip the numbers around.
No, that's the number of people who viewed it on Paramount Plus.
Right.
But speaking of interviews, care to take a stab at how many interviews we did this year?
I'm gonna say, maybe like 28.
Well, I mean, you were cheating at all the other ones. I wonder if you cheated at this.
No, I didn't cheat at this. No.
Okay, well, 27 was the answer.
27. Okay.
Yeah.
I just was looking at we did like 30 something movies, so there's overlap some weeks. So
Sure.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
But it was going through this today, and this is not, I mean, if there is one episode of the whole year where we're going to blow smoke slightly up each other's asses, it's this one, right?
Yeah, of course.
This is kind of the one where we sort of say, like, well done.
Yeah.
And pat ourselves on the back. And I'd forgotten we'd done some of these. The thing that you guys maybe miss a little bit at home is me and Cam are just at this every week. And I'm on the social media, I'm just, doing posts for the film that's out this week or the interview that's out this week. I don't really get to think about the one we did last week or the week before that. I don't really get a chance to reflect. Cam, you're editing next week's thing. You're 2 weeks ahead of us in the schedule.
Yeah.
You're not even reflecting on it. So when I went through today and I wrote out the list of people we interviewed this year, and it blew me away. I'd forgotten. And I'll read them out and I'll just tell you a couple of the ones that jumped out to me. But we will come back to that in the categories in a bit as well. But here is the full list. Phil Alden Robinson, the director of Sneakers. Tom Wood, Casey Rule, and Humbly Gonzalez. Yaphet Kotto, which is a special one, I grant you. Jack Cocker, Martina Gedic, Shane Black, Richard Wenk, Robert Sellers, Marn Davies, Nicholas Meyer, which I'll add was our 100th interview.
Yeah.
That's an achievement. And then we went into the Spy Who Loved July, where we had Valerie Leon, Vernon Dobchev, Garrett Kagan, Rick Sylvester, followed up with Bruce Firestein, Constantine Gregory, Richard Whelan, Omid Jalili, Wolf Kaler, David Eldridge, Andrew Fleming, Matthew Field, AJ Chowdhury, Urka Bachenko, Matt Gawley, and finally, last week, we topped off the year with Anthony Way.
It was interesting because first off, as you said, when we put out these episodes, you don't tend to look backwards that much.
No.
And for me, it's like once I hit post, I'm already thinking about the next episode. It's like, okay, gotta move forward, gotta move forward. So I'm kind of often, I think we both are kind of robbed of that opportunity to just kind of sit and reflect on what we did.
Yeah.
But I was like off my lizard brain going like, okay, I think it's pretty easy to come up with my favorite interview this year because I could only like in that moment remember a handful.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking like, okay, I feel like this year maybe wasn't as like it wasn't maybe as strong as last year. Maybe I'm blurring timelines together in my head, and I'm thinking like
because Jeff Kleeman was last year, which is really like a real touchstone moment for the show, and so you think, oh, 2024 was like the big year.
yeah. And didn't we have Mitchell Lieb on last year?
Yep.
Yeah. So like ones like that were like heavy hitters in my mind, and I'm like, okay, well let's take a look at this year. And then I was going through going, oh my god, oh my god, this was like just as impressive a year.
If not better, I'd say.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It depends on what you're looking for, but Shane Black, Phil Alden Robinson, just those two. Just put them out there. Like that's and Bruce Firestein.
Yeah.
Like, where do you go from there? Like, if anything, we keep setting the bar so high for ourselves that we're going to struggle to like beat it in the next year. But I'm happy with that. I'd rather keep trying to do that.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is like some of them maybe you'd expect like that at certain point when we get to certain Bond movies, we're going to talk to person X. That's entirely possible, and it could be as well going forward. But there's ones thrown in there, as you mentioned, like Shane Black, Phil Alden Robinson. Those ones weren't sort of in the predestined cards,
no,
the way that say some of the Bond people were. And so I'm looking forward to more surprises like those in the next year.
And there are other James Bond and spy movie podcasts out there. Mostly more James Bond. There aren't many spy movie podcasts out there. Don't go looking. I'm kidding. And there will be some people that we will all interview. Some better than others. And so and there are names in that list that have crossed over into other places. But there are names on this list that I could almost guarantee will not turn up on any of those shows. And that those are the likes of Phil Alden Robinson, Shane Black, and Bruce Firestein.
Yeah.
And that just, I think reading that today was a tiny bit emotional, just to be like, to take that beat and just realize what we have achieved and be proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time this episode comes out, I will have already forgotten. I mean, off air, we were just talking about an interview we're lining up.
Yeah.
For the first few weeks of January. And we've already got two in the bag we haven't put out yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it will keep on rolling for us. So this is our little moment to pat ourselves on the back. And we're going to come back to interviews because we have a section about favorite interviews, which we'll talk about later. Now, one thing we haven't mentioned that happens in our recap wrap-up episodes is we have voicemails from yourselves. You kindly send us your voicemails talking about your favorite moments, or if you've got a bone to pick with us about something, which we will be featuring throughout this episode. And the first one is connected to our next subject. Roll it, Cam.
First message.
Yeah, hello, this is Bill Koenig at the Spy Command. Congratulations to Scott and Cam for another great year. I don't have a single favorite moment. I give you guys credit for the ability to do sudden emergency episodes. It happened on at least a couple occasions this year. One when Eon yielded creative control of the Bond film franchise to Amazon. And then later when some of the Amazon crew were starting to be named, so there's still a lot of work. Anyway, congratulations. Had a great year and look forward to more in 2026. Take care.
Thank you for that message, Bill. Always a fan of you on this show. We always love having you on. And the topic we wanted to just quickly discuss is part of the reason why we were on 34 films is because there was so many big episodes we did this year. And I'll read out some of the headlines. We celebrated 30 years of GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm.
We had the July Who Loved Me month where we sort of tackled The Spy Who Loved Me, which had a lot of stuff going on there. But we also had the Denis Villeneuve announcement as the new director of the next James Bond film. And of course, Amazon being announced as the sort of caretakers moving forward of James Bond. So we had like these big round tables we had to assemble, and 2 of them were very last minute.
Yeah.
I think we did both of those the same day and had them out the next day.
I think I don't remember if this was the case for Villeneuve, but definitely Amazon. Like I was at work
Yeah.
that day, and you were like texting me like a flurry of texts all day, like about we have to put this together, and you were like trying to get people who are available in that moment to do the episode. I basically ran home, jumped on my computer, and we were ready to go. So that was you behind the scenes pulling that together. But it was definitely like a holy crap, like this is really, really important, and we need to have this episode done now. And so thank you to everyone who showed up to contribute to that episode, and also showed up to contribute to Goldeneye, and also to the Villeneuve episode.
Yeah, for sure. And it's I don't mind putting this stuff together. I really enjoy putting things together. I probably should do that as a job. But there won't be as many of those, I think, when it comes to Bond announcements in the future. Like when they announce the next James Bond, I think there'll be an episode there.
I guess, but what if they just cast a complete unknown?
I think that's still something to discuss.
But it doesn't have like kind of the kind of like mental journeys you can go down versus like the Amazon one.
Yeah, but if you get someone on who's familiar with that person's catalog, there's things you could talk about. And plus, that person's going to influence spy films for the next 5, 10, 15 years. That is an important conversation to have. What I don't think is an important conversation is when they announce the name of the film, or you know, the Bond girl or something like that. I don't think that's worthy of a round table.
Yeah, the villain is interesting.
Maybe if you want to pull that one together yourself, Cam, I will happily sit there and let you lead the conversation.
Yeah, I'm thinking aloud on that one. It's more like maybe you'd want to do some sort of episode about the villains of James Bond or something. Like we did an episode this year on the work of Ken Adam.
Yeah.
And like something about Bond villains could be interesting. I don't know if we'll do that next year, but it's something in the future I would look at.
And the other thing to mention here, which we haven't really spoken about, and I don't think it's going to come up later, is, we lost quite a few people here. This is not going to be an in memoriam section. But Robert Redford passed away this year, who's, quite a big name in spy movies. And we just felt quite moved to do a special episode on that got lovely feedback about. And I think you guys really enjoyed.
Yeah, the passing of Redford was in some ways a surprise because he seemed, from the outside, like really vibrant and healthy in his older age. But, it was, I think, something that we really haven't done very much on the show. We did do an episode when Sean Connery passed away, celebrating him. And I was, I think...
Celebrating that he died.
Exactly. Yes. We were very angry at him for some reason that makes no sense.
We watched that animated film Sir Billy he did in 2011, and we were just vexed.
That's right. We were like, kill Billy.
Zardoz ruined everything.
Yeah, no. But like, I think we've kind of, when we did the Connery one, we kind of didn't have a good idea as to what we were doing.
It was, that's actually true in general because it was in 2020 we just started.
Yeah, and so I think it was a little kind of like, oh, we should do something. Well, let's just do I think it was 25 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like the Redford one was maybe the better tribute to a passing spy icon. And the sad fact is, we'll have more of those in the future.
Yeah, we're going to die at some point. Who's going to do our eulogy?
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? But on to bigger and better things. Let's get to the categories and our second voicemail.
Next message.
Hey guys, my name is Akemji Defornian. I'm the creator of Black Ops on BBC One, which is due back for its second series, January 8th on BBC One. And my favorite episode this year of the SpyHards podcast has been Bruce Firestein's episode where he talks about his experiences with Bond and GoldenEye. And I love the podcast in general. So you guys, please keep doing your thing. This is a great, great, great podcast. And Merry Christmas to all the listeners. And Christmas does only come once a year.
Thank you, Akemji Defornian. That is a voice, folks, you will be hearing again in the coming weeks on the show. We have a lovely episode coming out with him, I think this week, actually, funnily enough. But he mentioned he was a big fan of the Bruce Firestein interview that we did, which we will certainly come around to. But getting that email back from Bruce was certainly a surprise.
Yeah, I'd kind of ruled out that ever happening because we had reached out a couple times to try to
Mhm.
get Bruce on the show.
Yep.
And it never worked out. And it kind of was that case where you go, well, maybe this one isn't meant to be.
Yeah, there's a couple of those.
Yeah, there's a few of them along the way for sure. But the fact that this one happened, I mean, was thrilling, and I think we got a great chat out of it.
Yeah, but our first section, speaking of surprises, is the biggest surprise that we had this year. So why don't I lead us off?
Okay.
Now, this is a film that perhaps we didn't give the full SpyHards treatment to, although we will in the future. This is Black Bag.
I thought you were going to say ballerina.
Oh no! Oh no!
I was like, wow, this is a bold take.
Is that like mildest surprise that it was like? No, I guess that's mildest surprise that no one watched it. I thought that would have got more people actually.
Yeah, that was a surprise, actually. Yeah.
It was weird, especially when you had like Keanu in 2/3 of the film.
Yeah. No, you didn't.
Okay, well I slept through some of it too.
2/3 of the marketing.
Bazinga. No, Black Bag was a real surprise to me. I didn't know much about the film going into it. I'd seen, I think, a trailer and a couple of stills. I liked the cast, I liked the director, and I went to go and see it with my wife, Hannah. And because I think it was releasing here first, or you didn't have a chance to see it in time for us getting the review out, we decided, because it's kind of a film about a married couple, that me and Hannah would do the episode. So Hannah made her podcasting debut.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a big surprise to sit down with my wife and record a podcast in different rooms of the house.
Yeah, that was really fun, and it was a fun movie as well. It's actually, I think, when we were doing the Spy News segment on the Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, that was a movie we actually talked about the development of. I feel like it might be maybe the only movie to emerge that we discussed as something that was basically an idea at that point. Like, oh, they're going to make a movie called Black Bag, and Steven Soderbergh's going to direct it. I think we mentioned that. That's that.
Yeah, I think we're still waiting for that Angelina Jolie and who was the
Halle
other person?
Berry.
Halle Berry spy versus spy film or whatever it was.
It was called, was it Maud v. Maud or something like that?
Yeah, I remember talking about that in like 2023, 2024.
Yeah, and no movement on that one since.
Nope, we're still waiting for you, Maud. But yeah, so Black Bag was a big surprise. I enjoyed the film, and I enjoyed talking about it. If you haven't caught that episode, check it out. But Cam, what was your biggest surprise of 2025?
So I had two, actually. I had a good one and a bad surprise.
Okay.
They were both big, though. So my big surprise was how much I loved The In-Laws from 1979. The Alan Arkin, Peter Falk comedy, which I'd heard mentioned many times over the years, and I thought was hilarious. And sometimes I find 70s comedies don't always hold up the best when I watch them, just in terms of maybe energy or pacing or something like that. That one, though, I thought was inspired, and I could totally get why it has this cult fandom around it. So even though it was a movie that I'd heard of, I really relegated that one on our master list as kind of a, oh yeah, we should get to that at some point. Versus after watching the movie, thinking it was pretty inspired.
I mean, I don't want to weigh in too much on The In-Laws. I think I might come back to that in a bit. In one of the other categories. I'm glad you had a good time with it. The only thing I enjoyed about The In-Laws was the process of doing the episode with friend of the show, David A. Goodman.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, who haven't heard the episode, David is a TV writer. He's written on Futurama, on Family Guy, I think even Star Trek.
Yeah, Star Trek Enterprise, yeah.
Yeah, so we met him at a convention a couple of years ago, and he professed his love for The In-Laws, and we're like, well, when we get around to it, you're coming on. And it happened.
Yeah, and it was a really fun episode as a way of looking at a comedy, because actually, folks, I don't think we mentioned this, but like reviewing comedies is actually really hard, which is why there's always kind of a Scott and I kind of going, exhaling, going, okay, we've got to do a comedy one, because a lot of it turns into this part was funny, or I didn't laugh at this, I didn't think this was funny, and that's a tough thing.
Or like a very academic discussion about comedy.
Yeah, but I thought having David on, someone who understands like the DNA of comedy from his work, breaking down what about The In-Laws is special, I thought made that episode really unique among the other spy comedies we've looked at on SpyHards.
And what was your other surprise?
The other biggest surprise was how much of a complete belly flop Mission Impossible Final Reckoning was for me.
Interesting. I don't think I actually mentioned Mission Impossible once in any of my notes. Wow, okay.
Damning right there.
Yeah.
Because this was, again, Tom Cruise. I'm going to save cinema. The trailers had me a little concerned because they just didn't seem to have the punch that the previous Mission Impossible trailers did. But I also dismissed it as like, well, whatever. Trailers don't really matter if the movie delivers. And just like the, I don't know, like weirdly glum self-seriousness of that film. Yes, it has 2 great action sequences, but 2 great action sequences do not a great movie make.
No.
And I just found the movie a real slog. And I was legit shocked because, you know, people have their issues with Dead Reckoning. The Ilsa Faust stuff is obviously very, very polarizing.
Yeah.
But that movie moves. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes, and it moves. And I felt like this one was just like, man, where's the life gone? How did the characters get like rewritten between films? Like, what happened?
I've listened to a lot of stuff, like the postscript on Final Reckoning, interviews with the cast and crew, people coming out afterwards and saying like, "Oh, this is why it didn't work." There was an interview on YouTube, and I can't remember the name of the person who did the interview. I am sorry, and I will try and get you credited in the show notes. Who interviewed the editor for the film?
Yeah.
And he was talking about, and I watched a good portion of this interview, how like they tried so hard to make it work, and he was very proud of what he did in the end. He's not dismissing the film, but he said like at some points the cut was 4 hours.
Yeah.
And like, this is not Lawrence of Arabia, folks. This is Mission Impossible. Look at what De Palma did. You can strip it right back, and it still works. And I think it works better. And in our like mini review of the film, I said it, and I'll stick to it. It just wasn't fun.
Right. Yeah, no, that was my biggest problem. And, you know, it kind of reminds me, when you talk about the 4-hour thing, it's like, it reminds me of the Snyder Cut of Justice League, where it's like, the 4-hour version actually kind of works. Like, it's, you know, much more watchable than what emerged in the 2-hour plus cut.
Yep.
But you question, why was this ever the case? Why was the studio ever saying, this is acceptable that we have a 4-hour Justice League movie we don't know what to do with? That is like a situation that clearly something was broken at the conception phase of it.
Yeah. I think the Mission Impossible films will live on. I think Paramount is in a very awkward place right now.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to live on with Tom Cruise.
No, I think that's the end of this Mission Impossible run.
Yeah.
And I think it's
the Tom Cruise run.
The Tom Cruise run. What a run it was.
Oh, it's spectacular. That boy can run.
I mean, the fact is, like, the Mission Impossible franchise had a very high consistency rate.
Yeah.
And so incredibly high. Most franchises wish they had the consistency rate of the Mission Impossible series. But to end on such a downer is not what you want.
No, and I wish them all the best. I hope we get more Mission, like I say, but I will just be forever going back to 1, 2, and 3 and Fallout, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think 1, 3, 4. Actually, you know what? Like, I think, frankly, it's really just, to me, 2 and the last one that are kind of more I'll watch those every now and again, but the other ones are the ones I go to.
If I need to for something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next message.
Hi, the Wizard of Ice here. So the lad Scott comes to me today and he says, can you do some sort of review of SpyHards podcast? And he's begging me. He's begging like a dog. Bloke's on his knees. You know, it was pretty tragic. So I said yes, just because I felt sorry for him, really. You know me, I'm quite an affable sort of chap who wants to help people out a lot. And I was going to do a really glowing review of SpyHards and say it was solidly mediocre and most episodes are bang average and even a couple of reasonable, like the Bruce Fierstein one was good. Was going to do that. But then I listened to the Moonraker episode and they're slagging it off for hours. Oh, Moonraker's rubbish. Oh, it's far-fetched. It's not a science fact. Shut up. So are you going to be having your Christmas dinner tomorrow? Are you going to be having dry turkey and boiled potatoes and boiled cabbage and boiled carrots? No, you're going to be having all the trimmings, aren't you? You're going to be having gravy and Yorkshires and cranberry sauce and stuffing and pigs in blankets and all that. And that's what Moonraker is. It's all the trimmings in a Bond film. It's got no character arcs and all that crap. It just does what it says on the tin. But anyway, yeah, so, yeah, SpyHards podcast. Listen to it if you want. There are other podcasts available. Most are worse. But, yeah, it doesn't make any odds to me if you listen to it, but Blake wanted me to do a review, so there you go.
Well, thank you for that message, Wiz. It was definitely your style.
Sounds like Wiz dreaded listening to SpyHards podcast in 2025.
Well, a little behind the scenes, Cam listened to that message before I did, and he was like, I mean, this is an interesting one. And so I kind of dreaded clicking on that message to hit play. But you send it in, you will get featured on the show. And thank you, Wiz. And I think there was a sarcastic undertone in there somewhere.
Buried deeply, deeply.
But that does bring us on to the movie you dreaded watching in 2025. I'll go first. It's a film we've already spoken about, so I won't belabor it too much.
Yep.
Section 31.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Because I knew it was going to be a crapshoot. And for me, I kind of said this earlier, so I won't go on too much, but like, before spy movies, before James Bond, Star Trek was my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one with a bullet, right? And then spy movies and James Bond are sort of second. To see my beloved franchise get bastardized to the point where I want to throw it out of a window actually ate my soul. And like, I saw the trailer, I remember talking to you, and like, I think you and friend of the show Tyler Orton were in Vegas, and they dropped that trailer where it's like Misfits only or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, we've got an absolute stinker here, and I know we're going to have to cover it. And so from that August to when we covered the film in like February, March, whenever it came out, I just knew it was going to be crap. And living with that dread did bring me down a bit.
I was actually excited to watch it. I was like, oh my God, what have they cooked up here? I'm anticipating this. I just didn't expect it to be as truly dire as it was, but I thought it would be more like your dad writes teen comedy cringe, you know, like that kind of stuff. I thought it would be more like that kind of uncomfortableness, but no, it was worse than that. So for me, actually, it wasn't a movie I hadn't seen. It was a movie that I had seen that we had to rewatch for the show, and it was The Gray Man. I was not looking forward to having to sit down and watch The Gray Man a second time, but I think the episode we did, I actually really liked that episode we did on The Gray Man, and it was one that was actually very popular this year with you folks out there.
Strangely. Yeah, strangely.
So I'm glad we got value out of it, but making myself sit down to invest another 2 hours of my life into The Gray Man was definitely a sobering moment.
I mean, can I give you a little bit of information I probably didn't give you in the review about The Gray Man?
Please.
So for those, I mean, my process for watching a film is I sit on my couch. You've sat on that couch, Cam. I watch the film on the TV you've watched stuff on in my house. You understand the setting. I make my notes. I come and review the film with you.
Wait a second. I think you mentioned this on the interview. You did it on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On my tiny little TV in my gym. I just did it there. I was like, I can't bring myself to fully engage with this film. I tried.
Shameful. The other two that I actually had listed were movies that I just remembered being quite mediocre, and I just was like, oh God. Ava was one that I just was like, oh, I'm watching this again. Never thought I'd do that in my life. And the other one that actually was a more positive experience on the rewatch than I anticipated was Equalizer 2.
Sure.
Which I remembered in the theater being a real letdown after the first one.
The lift taxi film.
Yeah, and it wasn't as bad on the revisit, but my memories were that it was like quite underwhelming.
I think it's still the weakest of the three.
I would say so, yes.
Yeah.
Next message.
Hey Scott, hey Cam, Dave Chantry here. I've been following the show since day one, which, as you know, has been a long time now. Just also shows how much I enjoy it. Basically, the show just gets better and better, not only with the knock reviews, but also your interviews, which are becoming second to none, just get better and better and better all the time. I don't really have any favourites that I can go back to, but I will say that two of the most recent podcasts that you've been, I never realised there'd be so much love for Invasion USA, but for all the right reasons. As someone who grew up in canon films in the 1980s, Chuck Norris was a childhood must-watch for me. And definitely, Good Guys Wear Black should definitely qualify as a future SpyHards contender. The other episode that I really enjoyed was Ken Adam discussion with Matt Gorley. As a Jurassic Bond fan of 50 years plus, I saw those big Ken Adam sets as they should be seen on the big screen. Spy was my first cinema Bond at 10. And Moonraker was the first Bond that I actually anticipated its release for, okay? At 12 years of age, I was the ideal candidate for that, an ideal target audience, and it just didn't disappoint. I'll always say that despite its flaws, which are many, it was the last of the really great Bond films on the big screen, and those Ken Adams sets and the exotic locations were front and center.
Thanks, Dave. And, well, both Invasion USA and that Gurley interview were two of the craziest moments, I think, that happened on the podcast this year. Just the experience of watching Invasion USA was insane. And the Matt Gurley episode gave us the great fish bed discussion, which some could argue was one of the great moments of the podcast for the year. So when we talk about, in the terms of the films we covered, craziest scenes, Scott, what jumped out to you?
Well, ironically, and it's interesting you tied this together with Dave's voicemail, I was originally going to go with Chuck Norris earnestly delivering this bit of gold. If you come back in, I'll hit you with so many rights, you'll be begging for a left.
Yeah.
I mean, that's gold. But we want crazy. And there was a moment, I was sitting down making my notes earlier, and I was like, what moment jumped out to me as a crazy scene that we witnessed? And I'm going to take us all the way back to about March this year, with a little 1950s film called Candlelight in Algeria.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not the movie I thought you were going to mention.
Okay, so let me set the scene for you. For those who haven't seen Candlelight in Algeria, you're listening to this. You haven't got to go back, and I'll set the scene. James Mason, our spy of the film, is sat in a room. He's being interrogated by Walter Rilla, who's playing the villain of the film. I believe he's a Nazi. And James Mason is also smuggling an actress above them, Carla Lehman. She's not an actress in the film, but she's sitting in a cupboard above them. And the doctor, the villain, was trying to find her, and they're having this back and forth. And then out of nowhere, Carla Lehman drops a fucking elbow on the guy from the top of the cupboard. You do not see that coming at all. I remember going, what was this? I go back, I watch it again. I went back and watched it again today because the film was on YouTube. It's still an out of nowhere moment. So much so, so much so that I'm tempted to, I don't like AI really for anything. But I'm tempted to get Sora AI to do a WWE style wrestling commentary section over that bit of film. It's
Right.
Oh my God, from the cupboard, she's dropping an elbow. Just that sort of thing. It is such a bizarre moment that it sticks with me almost, 9 months later?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Candlelight in Algeria. I'll talk about that one later down the road. But I had completely forgotten about that moment. That was incredible, and it's all coming back to me now.
Crazy moment. But what about you, Cam?
So there was a couple I looked at first off, which didn't get the prize for me, but I thought of the blind man in Rocket Attack USA saying, "Help me," and walking around in the post-apocalyptic landscape.
Yep.
That one jumped out. There was also the trajectory of the beanie in FBI Story, where he'd given his kid that beanie with the whirlwind thing on the head of it, that sticks up.
Yeah. It's like a narrative through line throughout the film.
Yeah, and how you saw it aging in a window over time.
It's not the FBI story, it's the beanie story.
There was also the crazy bit with the mom having a meltdown over Easter egg hunting.
Yeah, because she couldn't do it right. Only Jimmy Stewart could do it right.
Yeah, those jumped out to me as insane moments. Not what I went with, though.
Okay, go on.
What I went with was Kurt Jurgens' ski chalet of sex
Oh,
in the Karate Killers.
Sexy Kurt Jurgens. Oh, wow.
It was having him as this like dashing womanizer in this sleazy ski chalet,
And, like-
seducing like a 22-year-old woman, and I'm like, what the hell am I watching?
And it's not played as like it's this sleazy guy trying to talk this 20-year-old into bed or anything like that. She's into it.
Yeah.
She's very much into it. And so you're like, okay, is it his jumper that's doing it? I don't know. But something is working.
They are really selling you the sexiness of Kurt Jurgens in that scene. And it's like amazing. It's completely straight faced.
Yeah.
There is no like winking at the audience. It's like, no. Like clearly this guy's dashing.
Just look at him.
And you're like, this is Stromberg, the fish-handed guy.
Just imagine what he could do with his pinky, Cam.
Oh boy. Wild stuff. And I think those Man from Uncles from the season 3 stuff, the season 3 episodes turned into movies, they were stuffed with bizarre moments, but that one is the one that will live on in my mind.
I don't blame you, and I think both of our picks are pretty damn good.
This year there was a few though, because like FBI Story was loaded with them too.
I'd forgotten the hat, I have to say. I completely forgotten the hat. I hadn't
Yeah.
forgotten Sexy Kurt Jurgens, because who could forget that?
Yeah.
But that elbow drop out the top cupboard, man, that will live in infamy. The rest of the film won't, but that will.
Well, I mean, they were unforgettable, and maybe that cues up our next voicemail.
Next message.
Hello, guys. Vinny here. Just wanted to say you guys are fantastic, and your podcast is a definite favourite of mine. So you've had a great year, has to be said, but I particularly loved your GoldenEye celebrations and the round table of it, and also I think that I liked your tribute to Robert Redford. It was a really excellent tribute to a true legend, and I want to wish you guys many, many more successful years as an amazing podcast.
Well, I think Vinny said it best. Like the GoldenEye episodes and Robert Redford were episodes were real memorable episodes of the year, and both of them about unforgettable subjects, Redford and GoldenEye. Well, let's take the inverse of that. Scott, what was the most forgettable film of the year for you?
We spoke about Netflix earlier.
Yeah.
With The Grey Man. It wasn't The Grey Man. It was a film that I'm still struggling to remember. And that is Back in Action.
I considered this, yeah.
I mean, what a film for Cameron Diaz to return to the world of cinema, let alone spy movies, in this absolutely forgettable piece of Netflix trash. And it's not even like, we put The Grey Man out this year, and we also put Back in Action out this year. The interest between the two, you could tell from the downloads.
Yeah.
But interestingly, Back in Action is still one of the most watched films of the year on Netflix.
I know. Yeah, it was ranked very, very high. I mean, you put those 2 stars on a tile, and people are going to click play.
For a few seconds.
For a few seconds at least. I wonder if The Union, the Mark Wahlberg, Halle Berry one from 2024, had a similar run.
Probably. It was definitely like #1 in the UK for a day or something.
Yeah.
I just I can't oblige Back in Action, unfortunately.
You're going to be mad at me for my pick.
Okay.
Because the thing was, I considered Back in Action, but I could actually remember a lot of that movie.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, that's not fair. I'm just saying then I'm included here because I didn't think it was very good.
Sure.
But honestly, when it's forgettable, no, I can remember almost everything that happens in that movie. The one that I picked was actually one I had to sit and read the Wikipedia synopsis to remind me what movie I watched.
Okay.
You're going to be mad. Candlelight in Algeria.
Oh.
I couldn't remember anything in this movie, and I don't know if it was because I was really tired when I watched the movie for the episode. I know that was one that we'd recorded and then kicked down the road a long ways because of scheduling issues.
Sure.
And so maybe that's it. Like maybe we watched that movie like mid 2024 for all I can remember. But it was just a complete nothing in my brain when I sat down last night to make this list.
I mean, it doesn't jump out to me as much as some of the other films of the year, but I'll remember like the girl that James Mason was nuzzling up to getting killed, like trying to help him and stuff, and James Mason wearing a fez.
I kind of remember the fez.
Yeah, it's probably all you will remember about that film. But the elbow drop lives in infamy, so I couldn't oblige it. But I understand. I'm not sure I could tell you the plot of Candlelight in Algeria. I'm not sure it involves candles.
And that's what it came down to for me, was if I can't even remember the story of the movie,
Sure.
then it has to get the prize, even though it's not the worst movie. I'm sure if I rewatch Candlelight in Algeria, it's more than amusing enough. It's just that it has not stuck around in my mind much.
It's certainly not a sacred candle.
No, it is not. Taking it back to Mata Hari.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Agents, we don't expect you to talk. We expect you to buy a subscription to our Patreon.
Yee. That's right. Over on the SpyHards Patreon, we're covering all your favorite spy TV shows, as well as popular films from the most iconic secret agent actors of all time.
Cam, why don't you share some intel on our latest assignment?
So long 2025, hello 2026. But you know what? Before jumping completely into the new year, you might want to revisit the December offerings over on the SpyHards Patreon. We had reviews of Ghostbusters 2 and The Polar Express, as well as coverage of the Season 3 Man from U.N.C.L.E. episode, The Jingle Bells Affair. Remember, just because Christmas is over, doesn't mean the fun has to be.
So, tune your dial to patreon.com/spyhards and spice up your podcast feed.
But before Nick Knack runs out of Tabasco, resume the Spy Jinx.
Next message.
Hello, this is Agent Sergio from España, and Merry Christmas to my fellow spyhards. As a highlight of 2025, I would point out to the Blackback episode in which Scott enlisted his wife Hannah as a co-host, and it was a really fun episode. It was a great episode, especially on point since the movie is also about marital comings and goings. So great episode, great movie, and great show as usual. So keep on kicking ass in 26, I guess.
Well, thank you, Sergio. I'm glad you agree that Black Bag was a good film and you enjoyed the episode. Funny story, when you sent that voicemail in, I went upstairs. My wife was working in her office. And I popped in. I was like, listen to this. And she's like, is this your podcast again? I was like, no, trust me. You'll want to hear it. And I played her, and her face lit up. She was very happy. She thought no one cared about that episode. So the fact that it has its fans out there thrills her continuously. More than I do.
Oh, that's awesome, dear. And I'm glad that Sergio's favorite episode of the year didn't feature me. So
there's a lesson in that somewhere, I think.
Maybe there was a Patreon plug in the middle of that featured me, so I guess I have that.
Yeah, I think that's where you bring it up. If you look at like the retention rating, I'm sure it spikes up at the Patreon ad and then drops back down again.
I'm sure that's true.
But much as I spoke about Black Bag earlier as a bit of a surprise for me in the surprises section, you could also look at it as a bit of a hidden gem because it wasn't really seen all that much. But I won't make that my pick. My pick for hidden gem is one I think might surprise you. There are 3 films briefly in contention. I whittled it down to one because I think having multiple is cheating.
Yeah.
The other 2 that were in contention were Shining Through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy.
And Scarlet Coat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I enjoyed that film. I liked the end when the guy gets shot and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was nice.
It was nice. Yeah.
It was nice. But this might surprise you, but my pick for hidden gem is a film that has somehow stuck with me, despite me, I think, mostly ridiculing it in the episode, and that is A Southern Yankee.
That's so not what I thought you were going to say. Red Skelton for the win.
He certainly was. Like I still think about him in that museum when he's pretending to be on the bicycle. I still think about him running through the middle of that war zone, falling down the stairs, all that sort of stuff. All that physical comedy that I think was mostly Chaplin's input.
Yeah.
It just stays with me.
Was it Chaplin or Buster Keaton had helped? No, it was Buster Keaton had helped him with that one.
Okay, I'll take the L on that, Buster Keaton. Thank you, Buster. Yeah, I just like it's one of those films I read through the list and I was like that. It's definitely a SpyHards special. I think hidden gems need to be what we would call SpyHards specials, which
Yeah.
are films people haven't heard of, for the most part. Southern Yankee is definitely that, and of the ones I mentioned, it's definitely the one that stood out the most.
That one was really fun. I actually most years like to pick a Spy Hard special. I think we picked Tonight We Raided Calais as a hidden gem one year. Definitely The Five Fingers was a hidden
definitely.
gem. For me this year, I actually went with one that people have maybe heard of,
Okay.
but was far more glorious than I ever imagined it would be. And that was Invasion USA
Oh.
with Chuck Norris, our Christmas film this year. Which, like, I knew it was kind of just a B action movie, a canon film. I've seen lots of canon films. I kind of felt like I knew what I was getting going in. And I got so much more. Go
so
back to that
much.
Christmas episode. There was so many moments that I will remember. There was sequences that were unbelievable, like the mall bombing sequence or the car chase with the woman hanging out the side of the car.
Yeah.
All these bits that I was like, this is unbelievable action filmmaking, and I love going back and watching old action movies. And in my mind, when we had this one planned, this was a one and done, like, yeah, okay, that was kind of bad. We can make fun of it and, have a good time reviewing it for Christmas and move on. I didn't realize when I tuned into Invasion USA, it would be a movie that I would want to go back in the future and watch again and again.
No, I mean, I'm not surprised by that choice. I think I sort of dismissed it in like a recency bias way. Like I was like, we just covered this. I think let me look back further. But like, you got to remember, this film did the Holiday Armadillo long before Friends did it.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of the Arnold, action films or Stallone action films. These are all remembered well. The Bruce Willis action films, but the Chuck Norris stuff has kind of been relegated in modern times. Like people don't really talk about Chuck Norris.
It's dismissed. It's just like lesser.
Yeah, and I think like this is one that, it's like when you look at the works of Van Damme, a lot of those movies are going to be dismissed, but they'll say, oh, Hard Target or Time Cop are like the good ones, the ones that are worth going back to. I think Invasion USA speaks highly to what Chuck Norris could do when he was really locked in.
It's definitely a film that played to his strengths.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, like, it is exactly what I think of when I think of a Chuck Norris film. But sometimes you have an itch for a Chuck Norris film, and that is the perfect way to scratch it.
Agreed.
Next message.
Hey Scott, hey Cam, hope you had a great Christmas. You asked, so, well, here it is. I do have a bone to pick with you guys. Firstly, the in-laws. I listened to the episode again, and honestly, I believe that your personal feelings may have dictated it to be included on the knock list, because at the end of the day, I find this film to be a very, very loose comedy, but hey, each to their own. But as a spy film, yeah, it doesn't really work, in my opinion. It feels to be a very loose spy plot. It's there, but it's very loose, and it's not well structured, in my opinion, anyway. So, yeah, this is the episode again. I believe that your personal feelings of the film may have pushed it towards the knock list. And the other film I wish to discuss is Moonraker. Yes, it does have memorable moments. Yes, Bond goes into space. It does have the hovercraft gondola, all good, and especially the opening BTS, which is fantastic. However, The Spy Who Loved Me just did it so much better. Anyhow, that's my thoughts anyway for this year. Best of luck for next year, and I'm really hoping that Apocalypse Now is a film we get to discuss soon. Cheers.
Well, it sounds like Space Odds 1985, who's a regular on our WhatsApp chat. Join the WhatsApp, by the way, folks, if you want ongoing SpyHards conversation day by day by day. But he had some issues with us including The In-Laws and Moonraker on the knock list. I think those two are probably the most polarizing inclusions on the knock list in quite some time. I mean, John Cork made a passionate, I think, very valiant effort to get Moonraker on, and I think I can understand why Moonraker made it on. It does make sense to me.
Yeah.
But I can understand as well why someone like Space Odds may have an issue with that. In-Laws, comedy's tough. Comedy's always going to be tough. There are going to be comedy movies that will probably make it on the knock list that I don't even like very much. But enough people do. It's like, boy, the subjectivity of comedy makes it very difficult. And I thought The In-Laws was a blast. And I do think like the spy elements were fun in a way that they didn't feel like the typical James Bond knockoff stuff you see in 1,000 other spy comedies.
Sure.
That's what made it interesting to me. But I can understand the issue. But he raises the topic of knock list regrets. Scott, he has regrets. But those of us who actually helped make the list, do we have regrets from 2025?
I will say that every single one of my votes were correct. I just want to preface with that.
Right.
There is a film that you've already spoken about that didn't make the list, or we've spoken about it, and that's The In-Laws, the 70s version with Alan Arkin and Peter Falk. For me, it just isn't funny, and it's not particularly worthy of remembrance or preservation in that sense. On the flip side of that argument, it's on the Criterion Collection, so they must like it. As you said, comedy is subjective. It didn't work for me. I won't lose sleep over it being on the knock list, but it's the one of the 5 I would remove if I had the power to remove it.
Right. Yeah, and I don't feel this way. The way I did, like, I think last year I said Allied was my pick.
Yeah.
Which I didn't vote for, but I was like, really? Allied? But a lot of the time when a movie makes it on that I didn't vote for, like you mentioned The In-Laws for you, it's like one where you can at least go, well, this is a Criterion film. It's obviously celebrated among, a cult of fans. So, like, maybe it does have a place here. But sometimes there's the ones that I have trouble making an argument for in the past. Like, I didn't vote for You Only Live Twice to be on. It's hard for me to argue, just given the impact of that film. Allied was that movie for me last year. This year, though, I didn't really have one. And honestly, I didn't really have too many regrets about the knock list. The only thing I raised was, I question now, we put Moonraker on the list.
Sure.
For the reasons we talked about. And Space Odds mentioned that, like, it doesn't do as well what Spy Who Loved Me did. Agreed.
Yep.
I think that's, it's the other elements of Moonraker. The idea of Bond going too big. That's maybe the finest example of that if you're going to communicate that to a aspiring spy fan. Like, this is what happens when James Bond goes too big. Because the other examples, I think, Thunderball's a little too close to being a legit good movie, depending on who you ask. And something like Die Another Day is one that, it goes a little too wrong. A little too wrong.
I'll preface, Die Another Day is not on the knock list, by the way, folks.
It is not. It is not. So I felt like Moonraker was the best example of that to include. But when I look back on the year of 2025, there is sort of a little bit of a regret I have that Moonraker made it on and Live and Let Die did not. Because I think Live and Let Die is the superior film and has a lot of really great moments throughout. And it's also a very confident, assured debut of Roger Moore as Bond. So if I'm going to include what we'll call in quotes, a lesser Bond film on the knock list, maybe if I had a do-over, I would look a little more towards Live and Let Die than Moonraker, but I have to live with what I've done.
I think it would have been your vote that swayed it, because if I recall, our guest Mark Altman said yes.
No, I don't think he did.
I'd have to go back and check the tape. I won't argue with you.
Yeah.
I think I agree in a sense a more impassioned argument could be made for Live and Let Die. I didn't really look at the list of films, the 34 films that we did, and say like what ones should have made the knock list. I didn't really take it from that perspective. I probably should have done that. But you're right. Live and Let Die should have got some love. But I think we gave it as good as we could have. And I think our reasons for saying no at the time are probably quite valid.
I think so too. Like, I think that episode was one of my favorite episodes of the year. And I don't feel conflicted about it. I definitely don't feel conflicted about Man with the Golden Gun not making it on.
No. And I think, like, Cam and I have always discussed the idea of doing something with this list at some point. Like, if it's a book or something like that, we don't know.
Yeah.
If that ever happens, I'm sure there'll be a section where we talk about some of the ones that got on that maybe shouldn't have.
Sure. Yeah. And to me, like, I wouldn't have even raised the issue of Live and Let Die as much
Yeah,
were it not for Moonraker making it on.
I get it. No, I get it. And I think Space Odds has a good point. He picked both the films that we've mentioned, and Live and Let Die is an interesting addition there.
And also, we should note that Space Odds pleaded for Apocalypse Now in 2026, a movie that behind the scenes we've had a lot of debate about whether to cover it on the show. He's pushing hard for it. What do you folks out there think? Should we do that in 2026?
Yep. Let us know. mail@spyhards.com. Drop us a line. I'm voting for yes. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I think there's enough there. I watched it, I think 2 years ago, and I think there's enough there.
Which cut do we do?
I watched the longest cut last time. I found out during the viewing with like all of the French stuff.
Yeah.
I think I won't watch that one again.
Okay. There's the Redux, which is really long. They both that and the final cut have the French plantation section in them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would make the argument for the final cut, which is the one on 4K.
Yeah, I think there's just more stuff in the one I watched, but the French plantation stuff is fine. It's just it is an overlong film when I watched it. We won't get into reviewing it, but I think if that's like the definitive version of Apocalypse Now, I think that's what I would go for.
Yeah. Okay, let's go with that one.
Next message.
Hi, this is Martin from West Virginia. SpyHards is great. I love listening to their episodes, both the reviews and their interviews. And I want to just tell everybody that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Thank you.
Martin, thank you for that wonderful voicemail. I love that you love everything that we do and that you don't think that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Because I'm not sure I do either.
Oh, geez. Not this again. Moving on. The holidays are over. But we did cover Die Hard 2 over on the Patreon. And, of course, it's sometimes fun in these episodes to look back on our favorite Patreon episode of the year.
Indeed. And, for those who haven't joined us over on the Patreon, we tackle, non-spy movies by your favorite spy movie actors. And we also tackle spy TV shows and TV movies. So we added this category last year, our favorite Patreon episode. I'm going to go first, and I'm picking Once Upon a Spy.
I knew it. I knew you were going to pick this.
I mean, this is a film. This is a TV movie that's completely available on YouTube. It's deliriously fun. Nobody has ever seen it, and I want everyone to track it down. It's Ted Danson at pre-Cheers fame. You've got Christopher Lee hamming it up with sunglasses on at one point, driving around on a motorized wheelchair with rockets on and stuff like that. It's nutso. And there are huge set pieces that they must have done for zero money whatsoever. It's genuinely impressive to watch.
It was a lot of fun. It was definitely I sat down to watch this 90-minute TV movie. I was probably tired from work or something going, okay, God, what a slog this is going to be. And it was pretty inspired lunacy for 90 minutes straight. So I do recommend people check that one out as well. For me, this was actually tough because there was a lot of Agents in the Field episodes I was really proud of this year. I really liked our episode we did on The Jungle Book, the Disney film.
Uh-huh.
I really enjoyed our Robert Redford coverage, where we did a month dedicated to Redford and talked about Brubaker and Barefoot in the Park, two maybe lesser known Redford movies. That was a blast. But the one I went with was when David Lynch had passed away early this year in February. And we did a month dedicated to his work. And it was the episode we did on Lost Highway from 1997. I really enjoyed that conversation. I think we had a lot of fun diving into the themes of the film. And it felt to me, one of the best sort of summaries of kind of what that movie meant to us of the year. There's other ones I love along the way on the Patreon, but that one in particular I'm really proud of.
We'll make sure to put a link to both these episodes in the show notes. So if you want to come and join us or you want to just buy that episode individually, you can do that over at patreon.com/spyhards. But both great picks.
Next message.
Cam, Scott, you SpyHards. What a great year you've had. Hats off to you. It's been a huge insight for me as a writer, a spy movie lover, and you are often my walk to work my ride on the tube, and a general comfort. You've got some amazing guests this past year, writers, producers, and the works. So going forward, I wish you well, and big love, good health, and here's to 2026, where more announcements will be made.
Thank you very much, Ben, for that voicemail, and we're very glad you appreciated the year, and we'd like to think maybe we were your favorite podcast of the year. And speaking of favorites, favorite movie. This is a tough one, because do you go with like the academic choice, or do you go with the I just really love this movie and want to watch it over and over again kind of instinct? Scott?
A Southern Yankee.
Send that check to the Red Skelton Estate.
The Red Skelton Estate did actually sort of reach out to us on Twitter when we put that episode out, funnily enough.
Are you serious?
Yeah, a little bit. I'll tell you about that off air. It was interesting. I'll show you the message. Anyway, no. I think the academic choice would be The Lives of Others. I think that was probably one of the best films of the year. But for me, the most fun I had, and I think a film I will always go back to, is The Spy Who Loved Me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason we devoted a whole month to it. There's a reason we did 4 interviews on it. There's a reason we did 2 hours on it with our friend Scott Mance, Movie Mance, the man. And I just, like, every time I watch it, my appreciation for The Spy Who Loved Me seems to grow. And I just can't say enough good about it. I think it does everything right that a Bond movie can do right. And I think it's almost flawless.
Scott, that was my pick as well.
It's the first time we've agreed. Wow.
Yeah, and I did have underlined Marathon Man and Lives of Others, which I think are incredible movies that I will rewatch in the future as well. And the fact of the matter is, though, when it comes right down to it, The Spy Who Loved Me is just a joy machine. I love going back to it, and there was something extra special just about going back to the movie for my umpteenth time and taking the notes to actually do an episode about it. And I think we had a great conversation about The Spy Who Loved Me. Really great one. One of my favorite Bond episodes we've done. But also, I got the experience of showing it to my girlfriend, Sue, who'd never seen it before.
Right.
And so not only did I get to experience the joy for like the 100th time, I got to watch someone else really enjoy the movie as well. And that was, I think, to date, maybe her favorite Bond film. She also has really liked From Russia with Love. That was the other one she really liked a lot.
She's got good taste.
Yeah. Showed her Goldfinger the other night. She enjoyed that, but felt the climax on Fort Knox went on a little too long.
Sure.
A lot of setup. A lot of people doing things on screen for a period of time.
There's a lot of rumpus room.
But, Spy Who Loved Me, she just loved, and like the Jaws element and the action and just the way it constantly feels like, in the best way, pure comic book Bond, where there is a splash page on almost every page, and you're just like, the innovation and the ideas going on behind the scenes are inspired on that one.
And some people listening will like perhaps raise an eyebrow at us picking pure popcorn with The Spy Who Loved Me over something like Marathon Man or The Lives of Others. But, again, I said at the beginning, this is what our show is. It is a bit of everything. This is not the academic spy movie podcast. We would be far more dismissive of everything James Bond if that was the case.
Well, it's, the category is called favorite movie, not best movie. But let me throw a curveball at you. What was the best movie we covered this year?
The best spy movie that we covered.
Yeah, I think Lives of Others.
It's Lives of Others, yeah.
Yeah. Marathon Man is a second, but yeah.
I think Marathon Man has a little less spy to it than Lives of Others does. Lives of Others is 100% a spy movie. Marathon Man has elements.
True, yeah.
Yeah. Lives of Others is the best spy movie of the year that we've tackled.
Right.
I would say.
Next message.
Hi guys, Pentix here. Yeah, you guys have had another great year on the podcast. There's been a huge amount of breaking Bond news that you've covered, like Denis Villeneuve becoming director. You've had the interviews with like Bruce Firestein and Shane Black and so on. But yeah, if we're doing a retrospective of the year, I kind of want to go a little bit further back and mention your interview with Lee Tamahori. As listeners, I'm sure know, Lee Tamahori passed away just a few months ago, and yeah, your interview with him is quite a rare sort of long form interview with him. Not just about Die Another Day, but kind of about his whole career. And I really appreciated it for being this kind of time capsule and explanation of kind of the evolution of the New Zealand film industry. But then, yeah, you get to Die Another Day, and it's just kind of so refreshing to hear him, in his own words, talk about what I think is kind of one of the most misunderstood James Bond movies. And it becomes so clear kind of what he and Pierce Brosnan were trying to do with that movie. And I think most people agree that the execution didn't really work out. But I really valued that interview for him just being able to have the opportunity to explain his creative process and his thought process and what was going on with that film. And yeah, now that he's sadly passed away, that's kind of become a bit of a time capsule and a bit of a kind of one-of-a-kind documentary of his thoughts about that film with the benefit of hindsight. And so for that reason, I think that interview deserves a mention, even though it wasn't, in 2025. I think it's still worth highlighting. That's a bit of a somber note to end on, but it's been a great year for you guys. I really enjoyed the live event that you did a couple of weeks ago with the Thunderball screening. Here's to whatever you have in store for 2026.
But speaking of interviews, Pentex, you picked Lee Tamahori as one to pick out. And of course, we did that episode a couple of years ago, but we mentioned Robert Redford, we mentioned David Lynch that passed this year. Lee Tamahori also left us this year. We did briefly discuss the idea of doing an in memoriam episode about Lee, but I thought the best tribute was the interview. And I'm glad you felt the same way, Pentex. And I did do a little bit about it on the day that the news came out and said, if you want to go check this out, please do so. But, we did, I think, how many did I say earlier? 27, was it? 27 interviews this year.
Yeah.
We need to pick a favorite.
Tough.
It's very tough. And I actually genuinely struggled with this. For me, I said Shane Black and Bruce Firestein were the sort of pinch me moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't think I'd get here.
Mm-hmm.
Both names that we had been emailing for years, both names that we had been chasing for a long time, and it was good to finally bring both of them home. And it also wasn't one of those, which has been the case before, where we've chased people, and when you get to that point, it's not actually quite worth it. Perhaps we're not good on the day, or they're not good on the day, whatever happens. Shane Black and Bruce Firestein gave us absolute gold. Shane Black talking all about the films he's done, including The Long Kiss Goodnight. Bruce Firestein taking us beat by beat for almost 2 hours through his entire run of Bond. And he could have easily been like, guys, I've only got half an hour and I want to talk only about 007 Road to a Million.
Yeah.
He didn't do any of that big league shit. He was like, I love Bond and I'm here to talk about the work I put into it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad he did. And he's only done, I think 2 interviews last year, and we were one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it continuously humbles me that people even say yes to us at all. So they, I'd say, were the pinch me moments. The other 2 I want to just shout out before I sort of say my overall favorite is Marn Davies and Richard Wenk.
I had Richard Wenk as well marked down, yeah.
Yeah, Marn Davies was actually one I didn't do. It was you, Cam, who did that by yourself. So don't just say it's me who does the interviews sometimes, folks. Cam does them too.
Yeah.
And, they went through the beat-by-beat, real nuts and bolts, classic SpyHards style of how Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre was made.
That was a really fun chat, yeah.
So insightful. And you did a fantastic job shepherding that one, Cam. Well done to you.
One of the joys of that one was actually that we kind of wrap up the favorite spy.
Yeah.
Favorite spy movie question. And then we talk for 20 more minutes on the air. It's in the episode, but us just talking about the current film industry. So that one was one of my favorites in terms of just experiences to do.
Yeah. And Richard Wenk is the writer for all 3 Equalizer films. And again, this was one of those ones where we went nuts and bolts through all 3 Equalizer films, how they were put together, what it was like getting Denzel, what it was like getting Antoine Fuqua, how they all worked together to come up with all these 3 very unique, different feeling films. And, I'm not going to pick either of those two for my favorite, but they are very much the nuts and bolts style interviews that maybe aren't bread and butter for us, but they're the ones we love doing.
Yeah, and I also think of, down that same road, Andrew Fleming coming on to talk about directing the In-Laws remake from 2003.
Which, just a little behind the scenes, Cam and I often go back and forth on some of the people I pitch for interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And this is no shade on any people that have been picked on the show before at all. But sometimes we're a bit dubious of speaking to people with films that we didn't particularly like.
Yeah.
And you and I weren't fans of the In-Laws remake.
Mm-hmm.
But through the process of doing that interview with Andrew, we learned that it wasn't really his intention to make a remake of the In-Laws. He wanted to do his own sort of thing with the plot ideas of the In-Laws and was sort of forced into calling it that. And because of that, you have to start sort of remarking on it, in a sense. You have to start comparing it. And it gave us an opportunity to tell that story. So and actually, it's interesting, if you look at the statistics, more people have listened to the Andrew Fleming interview than have listened to our review of the In-Laws.
Yeah, which I'm glad.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm glad that people gave that one the attention, because there was also a great, Bond music story in there.
Mhm.
There was a great Barbara Streisand story. It was a really fun chat. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if I'm going to pick a favorite, I'm going to have to say it was Bruce Firestein.
Is that the one? Okay.
What about you, Cameron?
I had all of the ones you mentioned listed
Mhm.
as being in contention. The fact that I had so many to choose from made it actually really tough this year.
It was tough.
I was between two. I had Richard Whelan, who was second unit director and assistant director on GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm.
The stories we got from him about the behind the scenes on the bungee jump sequence and others, I think were invaluable.
Yeah.
In terms of adding to Bond information out there,
Mhm.
that episode to me was as revelatory as, Jeff Kleeman last year in some ways. Like, there
Sure.
was things in there that I was like, I've never heard this before.
Mhm.
This is incredible. That's not the one I went with, though.
Okay.
That was kind of my honorable mention. The one I went with was Phil Alden Robinson.
Yeah.
Coming on to talk about Sneakers and the Sum of All Fears. Now, maybe Sneakers and Sum of All Fears you don't regard as highly as Bond or Bourne or some of these other classic spy films. But to me, that chat was so insightful about the makings of those films, the decision making, everything. And, a little bit behind the scenes, Phil is a very busy guy.
Yeah.
And he was actually someone we've been trying to get for quite a long time. And we got him on, and we had a fairly tight time limit on that one.
Mhm.
And at a certain point, we just said, hey, do you want us to pivot to the end? And Phil said, you know what? I'm having a lot of fun right now. Let's just keep going.
True story. True story.
True story. Yeah. That's incredibly generous of him.
Mhm.
But I think also, as the chat continued, we got more and more great stuff, which to me, this belongs in kind of the, the carved in granite interviews of SpyHards.
I didn't include that one. I feel sort of bad for not bringing that one up, but it's a fantastic pick. And I will also add a little context to it. Again, if you haven't listened to that, go back and check it out after this. It's a fantastic episode. Even if I just take my bit out of it, it's still fantastic. One thing we mentioned was Robert Redford passing away this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, we did this interview. I also interviewed Omid Jalili with friend of the show, Catherine Vinclair. And he had some Robert Redford stories about working with him on Spy Game. And we were amassing these stories about Redford before he passed away. That's one of the reasons why we did that episode in the end, was because we had so much Redford in our lives leading up to that moment. And I think it made it all that more bittersweet when he passed away, because we had learnt so much about the man from these people who worked with him. And I think Phil Alden Robinson was invaluable for that. And I think going back to it's almost a little bittersweet now. I haven't listened to it since Robert Redford passed away. I suspect it might be a little tougher to listen to now, but in a good way.
Yeah, and no, it's like, Pentex talked about the Lee Tamahori interview as being something really that meant a lot to him going back to after Lee Tamahori passed away. I think the Phil Alden Robinson one probably in some ways plays the same in terms of the passing of Redford.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
Next message.
Hey everyone, Paul from Heavy Spoilers here, just to talk about my favourite moment of the SpyHards podcast this year. It wasn't actually released, and what I did was I actually asked Grok to write, in the style of Ian Fleming, a review of James Bond listening to the SpyHards podcast. And here's what it had to say. And let's say, mate, Fleming has fucking done the lads. Bond eased into the leather swivel of his Mayfair study, the faint crackle of the fire doing little to warm the chill that had settled in his bones since the last assignment. On the rosewood desk lay the latest curiosity, a sleek black pod, no larger than a cigarette case, its screen glowing with the lurid title SpyHards. He thumbed the play icon with the same wariness he reserved for unmarked packages from Q Branch. 2 voices, American, brash, irreverent, tumbled through the speaker, dissecting his own exploits with the enthusiasm of schoolboys swapping cigarette cards. They debated the plausibility of the Aston Martin's ejector seat, chuckled over Honey Rider's bikini, and argued whether Goldfinger's laser table was peak Fleming or pure cheese. Bond's mouth twitched, half amusement, half contempt. Amateurs, he thought, sipping the last of his Tadzinger. They mistook spectacle for tradecraft, gadgets for instinct. Yet beneath the scorn stirred an unwelcome flicker of vanity. These strangers had memorized his kills, his women, his scars. He killed the recording with a decisive jab. Let them play their games in the dark. The real shadows were colder and far less forgiving. And I tell you again, mate, Fleming has fucking done you there. Bond is just sick of your shit, guys. But thanks for the last year. I really appreciate it. It's been good for me, actually. I've quite enjoyed it. But yeah, Bond and Fleming, according to Grok, don't have very kind things to say about you, mate. So go fuck yourself.
Well, I mean, Paul, aka Heavy Spoilers, may have introduced one of my favorite moments, which is the Ian Fleming reviewing the SpyHards podcast summary there.
Didn't think we'd ever get that.
Didn't think we'd ever get that. Ian Fleming Beyond the Grave. But Scott, what was your favorite podcast moment of the year?
It's a great question, and there are a lot to choose from. I mean, we listed all those interviews we did. I haven't even mentioned, literally weeks ago from recording this and this episode coming out, I myself, along again with Catherine Vinclair, I just mentioned her, we hosted a live SpyHards screening of Thunderball at the Riverside Studios in Hammersmith. And that was a real pinch me moment. Me and you have done live shows in Vegas a couple of years ago. And, you couldn't be there just because, coming from Vancouver to London is not just a jaunt. And to get pitched that, we were approached and we said yes. And, you and I and Catherine all went down there in the summertime to go see the venue to make sure it was sort of a fit for us. And they were very happy with it. And I think we're looking to do more, hopefully, in 2026. That was definitely a great moment for me. Also, despite the film, some of the premieres I was invited to this year, the Amateur we were invited to, Section 31 got to go to.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Oh, Black Ops Season 2, which we'll talk about later this week with Akemji. All these opportunities that SpyHards afforded me, personally, were big moments. But for me, my favorite moment was me and one of your personal heroes, Matt Gorley, eviscerating you about your particular fish fetish. And it is a perfect bed for Cam, because if he gets bored of his partner, he can just look at the actual tank itself.
There you go. There you go. My girlfriend appreciate that one, Scott.
You're welcome.
But
I don't mean to be indiscreet, but you're definitely a top on that bed, so you can look down. Unless there's probably a mirror on the ceiling, so you're covered both ways.
No, that is peak 70s right there.
Now, an aquarium on the ceiling? Come on.
Oh.
And then you sleep on a mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop giving him ideas. If he wins the lottery, this is what's going to happen.
I salute you.
What I want to know is, how do you feed those fish?
I know.
If that bed is a real thing. Let's just say it is, for the sake of argument. This is a real Las Vegas room they're using. How are they, are they having to replace dead fish every 2 days?
Oh, yeah. Good question.
Who's coming in to feed them, though? That's the other thing, too. Are they having a feeding service?
How do you feed them? Is there like a tilt up on the plexiglass or something?
Got to be an entry point. But then I'd be worried about people like you trying to get in there.
Do what, Scott?
Look, that's up to you. That's between you and your fish.
Scott, that was one of the most surreal moments of my life.
Uh-huh.
Because, like, yes, as you said, I was a huge fan of Matt Gorley's James Bonding podcast.
You still are.
Still are. Well, it's not running anymore.
Oh, okay.
It's on hiatus, basically, until something happens. When a new Bond movie comes out, it'll spring back to life.
Mhm.
But I go back. I've listened to those episodes 3 or 4 times each, and I've loved a lot of what Matt Gorley's done. I was actually just listening to a episode with him on the For Your Amusement podcast about theme park rides, where he came on and talked about the Universal Studios tour, which was a ton of fun as well. So, big fan of the guy, and to have him on the show after years of listening to him, teaming up with you to mock me was the kind of thing where I was like almost like punch drunk. I was just like, what is going on? I don't know, but I could recognize in the moment it was very funny.
I mean, it's a favorite moment of mine. That's why I picked it for favorite podcast moment. But just, there are a few influences that went into the genesis of SpyHards. Big words, $5 words. For you, and partly for me, James Bonding was a show I listened to sometimes, and you listen to a lot.
Yeah.
And so like Matt Gorley and Matt Myra, who we've also we've spent some time with in private. That sounds weird, but in person, I should say. So getting Gorley on the show was a big thing for this show because he's part of the DNA of the show. And
Yeah.
just to watch your face as me and him are throwing barbs your way about your fish stuff. I mean, and that plastic bed from Diamonds Are Forever. It will live with me forever.
Yeah. So when it comes to favorite podcast moments, I don't generally like to include, say, like interview moments or things like that, because those are kind of summed up when we talk about favorite interview, favorite movie, things like
The
that.
Gorley one was a bit of an oddity. It wasn't really an interview, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a moment. It's a moment that to me will live on in my mind. So
Yeah.
that's what makes that one a favorite moment. I had that one marked down as well, but I had a backup because I thought that might come up from you. So both moments are actually me being mocked by people I enjoyed listening to.
Oh, okay.
Which shows that I'm masochistic, apparently. But it was actually going back to Star Trek VI with Andrew Secunda, who is actually Matt Myra's co-host on the Star Trek The Next Conversation podcast. There is a bit where I am talking about Disney's Robin Hood from 1973 and saying it was the first movie I ever saw in a theater. And then realizing it was actually the first movie my sister saw in a theater. So there was the setup. And then there was the payoff later on, which I will let people hear from the clip, where Andrew turned it back on me. And it was wonderful.
This was the first film I ever saw in theaters.
Okay.
There wasn't that great of a story, apparently, from the reaction I got there. So that's
Blank stares.
Let's just move
That
on.
was it?
Yeah, that was
Oof.
it. That was it. No, but
That's not a
I
story.
Just,
That's an anecdote.
Oh,
Is that an anecdote? I think
Well-
that's very generous. I think that's a sentence, is what it is.
With a period, not even an exclamation mark.
Okay, well, I'll move us on then. I'll cry myself to sleep when I thought I had a good story to share. So that's nice.
Well, hold on. Did it connect with you at that age? Because you would have been very young when you saw that.
4.
Yeah, like that's a really tough movie to watch at the age of 4. I think the first movie I saw around the same age was Disney's Robin Hood. Much more digestible.
Are you and I the same age? That's when I saw it. That was the first film I saw in the theaters.
I was the re-release, I guess, because that would have been, I guess, 1984 for me.
Oh, 84.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry.
No, I'm old.
We're just tearing
I
each
thought
other
I was-
apart right
I
now.
thought I was amongst my peers, and now I'm old. Aw.
I prefer wiser.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's kind of interesting, though, that even in 84, we both landed on the same first film. And it was because Robin Hood is not, I was obsessed with Disney's Robin Hood. But it's not really one of the go-tos. It's one of the ones that people will mention last amongst the Disney canon.
I just realized I made a mistake. It wasn't Robin Hood was my first. That was my sister's first movie. Mine was The Jungle Book. So that would have been before that. I apologize.
It just removes the connective tissue, so that's just...
I know. I just destroyed it all, like the Praxis Moon.
First of all, I love Jungle Book too. They both had basically Phil Harris playing a bear, but
they did. I have to correct myself. My sister would be furious if I tried to pass off her first movie as my own. So
I also have to say it's completely weird that you're in some strange body swap like story with your sister. You can't tell the difference between your life and her life now.
It's a film that had stuck with me for it's the first film I allegedly saw in theaters, but like,
you say allegedly?
Well, because I was 4.
Okay.
Like I don't have the ticket stubs. I don't have the receipts.
Was it Cam's sister you're thinking of?
I mean, that's what you bring Andrew Secunda on for, Cam. It's nice to know, though. It's nice to know that both you and James Bond have that in common, that you're both masochists.
That's right. That's right. And thanks to Andrew for coming on, because, I mean, Star Trek 6 is a very special movie for you and I to cover on the show. And we did like a 2.5-hour deep dive with him. And he brought a lot of insight while you and I just fanboyed out.
Yeah, a little bit. And it's also interesting that both of our picks are in the Matt Myra sphere.
Yeah.
I feel like that's someone we probably need to get on soon.
Love to. Yeah.
Next message.
Hi, this is Mohammed Shakir from Birmingham in the UK. It's been a great year for SpyHards. I mean, the number of interviews alone is completely off the charts. I mean, you've got Yaphet Kotto, Jack Cocker, Shane Black, Robert Sellers, Nicholas Myers, David Walliams, Rick Sylvester, Bruce Firestein, Omid Jalili, just to name a few, and it really is just a few. You have been at the forefront of tackling the most wide-ranging spy films that I've never seen, if I'm honest, or ever heard of, and that's hugely, hugely appreciated. The highlight really has to be the group of people you put together for the round tables, especially on the Bond news around Amazon taking over creative control, and then the Denis Villeneuve announcement that he was becoming director. So really, it's been a fantastic year. I don't know how you're going to top it. You've got live events coming up, which is amazing. I wish I could come to them. And maybe if you do some next year, I will. All the best, guys.
Mohammed, thank you for that voicemail. You loved the roundtables about the Bond news and Denis Villeneuve. Well, we loved it. You loved it too. You are almost, perhaps, the SpyHards MVP of the year. Or you certainly are in my heart anyway. But our final category, our final duty, Cameron, is we have to pick the MVP of 2025. Now, just for preface, to whet your appetite, folks, here are some of the names that have been MVP in the past. We've had Tom Cruise. A bit of a downfall this year, I'd say, for Mr. Cruise. He was flying high last year in 2024.
Yes, he was, yeah.
Before that, we had the king of cool himself, Mr. Dean Martin, Mr. Matt Helm. I mean, who doesn't love Dean Martin?
I was really bummed this year. I have a singing Dean Martin Christmas ornament that sings Everybody Loves Somebody. And my girlfriend loves it, and we put it out this year, hung it on the tree, and the motor had died on the singing part of it.
Oh, that could be fixed.
Can it? We tried new batteries and everything. That didn't work. I think it's like the wiring or something.
Maybe save it till I come around next time.
It's very old. It's probably like a 20-year-old ornament.
You'd be surprised. I can fix things.
Okay.
Leave it for
me.
Yeah, there's still hope. He's the king of cool. He'll always be here. And then lastly, it's Cam's fashion icon, Peter Lorre.
Yeah, of course. I model everything about myself on that man.
Your little gremlin walk in the dark is certainly very Peter Lorre.
Hello, Scott.
That's actually not bad.
Thank you. It's a little Igor from Frankenstein, but yeah.
He is a little Igor, though, isn't he?
I suppose so.
So that's some of the names that have done it in the past. But 2025, we need to pick an MVP. And I'm just going to throw it out. I'm not going to belabor it, Cam. This year is 2 people.
Yeah.
It's Robert Vaughn and David McCallum. The Men from U.N.C.L.E.
That is so not what I thought.
Oh.
Oh my god. Oh, we are going to have a real debate.
Oh no. Who did you pick?
Okay, because we covered so much Man from U.N.C.L.E. this year?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my problems with the Man from U.N.C.L.E. films we tackled this year. I was going to bring them up in forgettable films because I think I've already forgotten half of them. But you can never really fault them.
Yeah. Okay. Here are my 2 picks I had noted down.
Okay.
One of them was Sir Roger Moore.
Okay.
As we covered the best of his Bond this year, we also talked about the From Roger with Love documentary with Jack Cocker.
Sure.
And this was kind of the year of delving into the best of Roger Moore, because going forward, I like a lot of the other Roger Moore Bond films, but they don't hit the highs of what we've covered.
Sure.
So that was tough. There was also the sad specter of Robert Redford.
Right.
Who featured into a lot of our interviews. We did the tribute episode to Robert Redford. And we also did a month on the Patreon about Robert Redford.
Okay, I think I can make this easy for us.
Okay.
I didn't consider Roger Moore, not because I wouldn't consider him, because I didn't think to. Robert Redford already had the red carpet rolled out for him by us, I think.
Yeah.
Special episode, special month on the Patreon. He doesn't need the MVP status.
We didn't really cover a Redford spy movie this year. Yeah.
No. I think the toss-up here is between The Men from U.N.C.L.E. or Roger Moore. The Men from U.N.C.L.E. will never have another opportunity to be MVP.
I don't know that Roger Moore really will either.
Well, I mean, we'll be doing revisits of these films in years to come when they have anniversaries and stuff. There are plenty of interviews we can still do. There's nothing we can do from The Men from U.N.C.L.E.
Other than cover the 1980s Return of movie at some point, in some fashion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
True. How do we decide this?
I don't know that there is a way. I mean, I guess it would be notable that Roger Moore would be the first Bond actor to get the MVP. Daniel Craig didn't get it his year.
That's true. Or Pierce Brosnan.
Nor Connery. And not that we were doing the MVP then, but nonetheless.
I would be willing to concede it to Roger Moore, I think. I think in terms of contribution to spy movies, I think Roger Moore has only a slight advantage, but an advantage.
To me, there's also the factor that, like, yes, we covered a lot of Man from U.N.C.L.E., and I enjoyed a lot of those experiences, and didn't enjoy a few of them. But with Roger Moore, this was a year of not just covering his arguably best spy films, but also the documentary, and also interviewing multiple people telling us stories about Roger Moore throughout the year.
And even that special one with Yaphet Kotto from our friend Mark Altman of the Inglorious Trexperts podcast, that he gifted us the audio from his interview he did in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, out of the vault, no one ever heard that before. Yeah, we spent a lot of time talking about Roger Moore. I think I'd be willing to give it to you.
I just feel like this was, in terms of spy coverage for a year, this was kind of the year of Roger Moore. Whereas, like, we never really had any interviews for Man from U.N.C.L.E. We had the guest on the Helicopter Spies talk about her experiences with Robert Vaughn and David McCallum. But outside of that, it's not like this year was really about kind of the life and stories of those two good dudes.
I'm sold. I'm Roger Moore, baby.
There we go. An all-time high.
The MVP. An all-time high. Well, that's next year.
Well,
or in the years to come.
Yeah.
Roger Moore is our SpyHards MVP of 2025, and that rounds off our categories. But I think we have one more voicemail.
Next message.
James Bond composer Sir Paul McCartney here. My first wife, Linda, would have loved your show while she was doing her vegetarian cooking, as would my pal John. He'd have been like, ha, these guys are good. So I thought I'd just sing you a song. What do you do? No one else can part like you. What's the fuss? No one else likes spies like us. Spies like us. It's the worst song I ever wrote in my life. Merry Christmas.
Yes, thank you, Johan, for that message, and thank you to the team at James Bond Ireland. We love you guys over there. I still need to pop over there and come to one of your screenings at some point.
Me too.
Well, you just need to come back here.
I do. I've never been to Ireland though, so
That's true. We did
yeah.
Scotland last time you came here. Maybe Ireland is our next visit.
Sign me up.
Let's do it. Well, firstly, thank you all for listening, folks. And if you have any thoughts about any of our picks in the categories, let us know at mail@spyhards.com. It's our new email address that you can reach us and we will get back to you. But before we let you go and get to the little Brucey bonus we have at the end of the episode for you, we just want to talk a little bit about what we have lined up for 2026 and some minor tweaks we want to make to the show.
Mm-hmm.
There's two things I really want to talk about. Cam and I have discussed one of them, and the other one's a bit more free-flowing. Firstly, we want you to get more involved with the show, all of you listening at home. And, we always, at the end of the show, we talk about the knock list. You and I have our vote, and we pick with our guest if it's making the knock list or not. And on social media, we talk a lot about those choices with people, but we never get that back and forth on the show. So what I think we want to start doing is Cam and I will record our wraps of the episodes a lot closer to airtime. And once we've done the knock list, we're going to ask you to write to us at mail@spyhards.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/spyhards. There'll be links in the show notes below with your thoughts if it made the knock list or not. And we'll also put a post out on social media, and we'll read or play a couple of those notes at the beginning of the next episode as like your reflection upon the knock list. Did you think it should have made it or not? Or did you hate the film? Your thoughts on it? Anything like that. I think it's a little bit more of an interactive way of doing it, and there have been some really interesting insights in the past, perhaps things that we've missed.
Yeah, well, we got that great voicemail from SpyHards about Moonraker and In-Laws, and in this 2026 and going forward, he would be able to get those thoughts out following the episodes on those films.
Yeah, even if it's just like, if some people are shy about sending us emails or leaving us voicemails, I'll put a social media post up probably like the Friday of the week the episode comes out saying, this made the knock list or this didn't make the knock list. What do you think? Should it or shouldn't it? Yes or no, with your thoughts, let us know. And you can just post on there and we'll pick a couple out that we like or that are funny and read them out and give you credit, of course, and shout you out on the episode. I think it's a more fun and interactive way of getting the community. I mean, we have a great WhatsApp community. We have a great Patreon community as well. I want to get everyone talking.
Yeah, totally.
And the other thing is, we dabbled a little bit this year with anniversaries. We did GoldenEye. And I note next year has some interesting anniversaries. I'll read you out a few, Cam.
Mm-hmm.
I also will note that Catherine and I did the Thunderball screening because Thunderball turned 60 in 2025, the year that's just gone.
Yep.
But some of the films that are having birthdays this year include Funeral in Berlin, Diamonds Are Forever, The Eagle Has Landed, The Pink Panther Strikes Again, Condor Man, The Eye of the Needle, For Your Eyes Only, The Rocketeer, Star Trek VI, The Long Kiss Goodnight, Mission Impossible from Brian De Palma, Spy Game, 2001, Taylor of Panama, Casino Royale, 2006, Black Book, and of course, Tinker Tailor, Soldier Spy. Now, I don't propose we do anniversary episodes for all of them because that's half of the year.
Yeah.
But there might be a few that are having big bumper anniversaries, like 50 years or 25 years or something like that, that we may look to do a special episode on to celebrate, or perhaps get an interview tied into them to talk about it. I could certainly find perhaps it's a good way of doing a Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy interview by saying, it's been 20 years since the film came out, or 15 years since the film came out. Let's talk about it. And I might be able to get a name to talk about the film. And that's sort of my proposition to you, Cam. What do you think?
I think that sounds fun. I thought our GoldenEye episode was, everything I would hope for, and talk about like not just the movie, but the effect around it. And I think that's maybe an important thing too, especially with the movies that have really left an enduring impact.
Yeah.
I think that's important. Like, I don't know that necessarily, just to pick one, I would be doing like an anniversary of the Funeral in Berlin film, a movie I enjoy, but like, did it shake up spy cinema? Is it one that's sort of on the tip of everyone's tongues? Probably not. Ipcris File would, though. I think you could definitely do an Ipcris File round table or something like that.
Sure.
Frankly, a Harry Palmer round table would make sense at some point as well. But I'm always looking for more excuses to celebrate Diamonds Are Forever. So
yeah, we've done pretty good for interviews with Diamonds Are Forever, but there's still a couple of cast members that are, I think, available that we haven't interviewed yet. So we could just do it as like a Diamonds week.
Yep.
and we have perhaps a little roundtable on it, or we just have an interview on Diamonds celebrating it at the end of the episode. Perhaps me and you talk about a bit more.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. It's all free-flowing. It's all up for debate. If you have any thoughts on this, again, let us know on the emails, mail@spyhards.com. Let us know what you think. I just think, like, looking at what we did with the 60th with Thunderball, with the live show, so I'm hoping to do a few more of those in 2026. And also with GoldenEye, I think that was a really fun episode to do. It did very well, like on the back end, if that's stuff you care about. But I had fun doing it, and I know people had fun listening to it.
Yeah, and having Calvin Pentex and Dave Schilling on that one
was great.
Great stuff.
It was great. And you just think, like, some of those films that we tackled in the early years, perhaps we didn't give the best showing to. Like Long Kiss Goodnight, we did very early on in the game, and we had Shane Black on the show last year, so maybe that was kind of our little love to Long Kiss Goodnight. But imagine if I could send an email and get Gina Davis. Would you say no to that? I certainly wouldn't.
Definitely not, no.
Samuel, what are you up to these days? Probably the Avengers films.
Yeah, I think Samuel's a little busy.
But he's always said he wanted to come back to it, so who knows?
Who knows?
And that is how I will leave us for 2026. Who knows what the future may hold? It's a scary place out there, folks, but there's one thing you can rely on every week, is that we will be in your ears.
We will indeed. Our mission never ends.
It does not.
And you know what also doesn't end, Scott? Voicemails coming in. This one slid in just under the wire. Let's play it.
Final message.
Hey, Scott and Cam. This is Eric from Chicago. I want to wish you guys Happy New Year and tell you how much I love the podcast. Some great interviews this year with Shane Black, Phil Alden Robinson, and especially Bruce Firestein. And I also love the reviews for Moonraker and The Spy Who Loved Me, and listening to Vernon Dobchev and Rick Sylvester. Not the greatest year of spy movies. At least we had Black Bag. And hope you guys have a great year. Talk to you later. Bye.
A sincere thank you to Eric for the kind words about our interviews and Bond coverage. And you know what? Scott, take it away.
Thank you all for listening to us for the year of 2025 and every other year you've listened to us too. I mentioned Dave Chantry left us a voicemail earlier. He's been listening since the beginning. A true Spy Hard diehard, if there ever was one. And if you want to profess your love in 2026 for Spy Hards, come and find us over on the Patreon. Patreon.com/SpyHards. There was an ad in the middle of the show. Cam gave a cheap plug at the beginning. There was a couple of other plugs in there too, probably. But for the price of a coffee per month, you can get 3 bonus episodes. Who wouldn't want that? And even if you don't listen to the episodes, you're kicking that money our way instead of Starbucks or Costa. There are other coffee chains out there, of course. Tim Hortons. They don't need your money. But it costs a lot to run the show. And we're getting to the point now where we get propositioned to do interviews and they want money. And I don't want to pay anyone to do interviews on the show. But if it's the difference between getting Gina Davis or not, you have to ask yourself a question.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're contributing towards that, all the better. But help out your favorite spy movie podcast to come and join us at patreon.com/spyhards. And we mentioned about continuing the conversation. Every week we want to hear from you. You can find us on social media at SpyHards. That's SpyHards, where you can tell us if we got that knock list right or wrong. We want to hear. And it was probably Cam that got it wrong. But 2026 calls to us, and we will grab it. Roger Moore is our MVP of the year. And, well, I'm sure he's got a safari suit for us all to don and tackle 2026 with the ferocity that he tackled that snake in Moonraker.
That's right.
It was plastic, but I didn't care, damn it. This year, the first episode, later this week, I mentioned him earlier. He left us a voicemail. Akemji Defornien. He is a BAFTA-winning actor, and he loves spy movies, and he's got a new show coming out, well, the second season of a show, Black Ops on BBC here, BBC One, I believe, in the UK, actually. And he's joining me later this week on the show to talk all about that, all about his love of spy movies. And there are some very interesting twists and turns that conversation takes. There's even a little Thunderbirds 5 or 10 minutes that seems to come up, which is a very interesting little diversion. That'll be out this Friday. And then, Cam, I'll ask you, what is our first film of 2026?
Well, Scott, it's one that we've had on the list to cover for a while, but we were waiting
Oh boy.
for a special occasion.
Uh-huh.
A very special occasion, which happened in 2025, which was you visited Vancouver and spent a week with me here and got the tour of the land, as it were.
I'm still getting my shots.
And we visited some locations from a film that we are going to cover next week. And that film is the Vancouver set spy thriller Ballistic X vs. Sever from 2001, starring Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu.
We are laying down the law. We are stating our mission. We are continuing the only way we know how. By looking at a film that has quite the legacy in Ballistic X vs. Sever. And because we always come prepared, we also have sat down with the director of the film to find out what happened. And boy, does he tell us. It's another, what a way to start the year with 2 interviews in 2 weeks. That's the way we like to do it. Cam has some editing to do, so I won't keep us around too much. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, folks, is to join us later this week as I speak with Akemji Defournier. And then next week, as we take a look at Ballistic X vs. Sever. But until next time, folks, you'll find me finally replying to that DM from the Red Skelton estate. And we have one more week left of The Spy Who Loved Me, so why don't we go out, mixing my metaphor, but on an all-time high.
Yeah, that's right. We are going to be talking to Rick Sylvester, who performed the iconic parachute-pulling Union Jack parachute.
Blah, blah, bleep, bleep.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah. I'm a monkey.
There's some stuff here I think that's worth a discussion, maybe. And I'm glad we talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
I said that weirdly.
We talked
about it. I'm Michael Caine, and I'm a nosy neighbour.